Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And take a look at this. The crypto market is doing huge today. It's a bullish day, and that leaves me excited. I mean, Bitcoin is at 41.5 thousand, Ethereum $3,114. Things are looking positive again. It's looking very nice. Having said that, I want to focus this video first on Ripple versus the SEC, then a little bit deeper into the Ethereum owned by the Ethereum Foundation. It's rather interesting, going back a little bit further into some Ripple shenanigans, just some news, I guess, before moving over into the Bybit Launchpad, some coin that's launching that I want to tell you guys about, a little bit more XRP news, something to watch out for. Then a billionaire is talking about Solana. I want to tell you guys about that. Monero is getting some crazy stuff done in the near future, and I basically explained to you guys what to watch out for in terms of crazy gains for some crypto. I want to kind of further on that story. And at the end, Bitcoin is superior to all other payment networks. I have a couple of remarks on that I want to share with y'all. So for right now, Ripple versus the SEC. XRP lawyer explains how both sides could win. So straight off the bat, this is not something which a lot of you guys like to see, as it obviously is nuancing these things. What I'm talking about here is John Deaton, a very well-known lawyer, is explaining why Ripple will most likely win the lawsuit, but how the SEC has a chance, and logically makes sense. You know, no battle is by definition won, otherwise it wouldn't really be a battle, right? Until it is over. But I can, just without any lawyer type of qualifications, I guess, I can think of a couple of reasons as to why the SEC might win. I can think of more as to why Ripple would win, but one of the ones that you can easily just think about here is if the system is completely rigged, Ripple stands no chance. It's just something you should keep in the back of your head, obviously. Having said that, Ripple and the SEC can both win. Now that we have arrived at summary judgment time, I see a lot of comments on how Ripple can't lose at all. Not true. Sometimes I wonder if he's kind of pointing at me for thinking I'm a dumbass, but it's okay. You know, I'm just keeping the morale high. At the end of the day, I know that everything can be rigged and that they can lose potentially. It's the truth, you know? It's possible that both sides win, technically and legally speaking, that is. Ripple and the SEC will agree to a laundry list of agreed upon stipulated indisputable facts. No, I accidentally clicked pause. Before we move on, I want to make one thing clear. At the end of the day, we can also have both parties win at the same time, meaning it's not just Ripple who wins, not just the SEC who wins. We talked about this before with settlement. If they settle, it'll most likely be that the SEC has officially won because Ripple has to pay, let's say, $100 million fine. But since XRP from that point on forward is not a security anymore, we define that as a win for them too, which means both win, right? Now, those stipulated facts can remove the case from being decided by a jury. If the parties can't agree, a jury decides what actually happened. The jury decides the facts. For example, if the parties in a car accident case don't agree what color the traffic light was, the jury decides. That's interesting. If both parties agree the light was red, there's no need for a jury to decide the fact. Hence, the Ripple and the SEC could agree to all relevant facts. If that happens, then the judge applies the law to those set of facts and gives her ruling. Here's a hypothetical scenario. The SEC and Ripple agree that in February of 2013, Ripple sold an option for 1 billion XRP to investor B, valued at 0.05 per XRP, to 25, or at least for $25 million. J. Torres, applying Howey factors, could determine that on that day in 2013, investor B gave $25 million in investment into a common enterprise, Ripple, with a reasonable expectation of profit because Ripple explained all the efforts it intended to make to drive adoption and utility of XRP. If the above factual scenario was agreed to, the judge could find that specific offering of XRP an investment contract with Ripple, which means that the SEC wins. Ripple could still win because the judge, applying those same set of factors, decides ongoing sales of XRP by Ripple are not securities. Ripple wins. The judge should find that secondary market sales of XRP independent of Ripple are also not securities. XRP holders win. Here's a brief analysis I did at the 1-year anniversary of the lawsuit related to today's XRP. It's just something you should keep in the back of your head, you know, that it's not as clear as might meet the eye, and there's so many underlying things going on. Husher Ventures said, with Ripple's defense call to proceed to summary judgment, irrespective of the court's full deposition on the emails, they appear to be carving out a win for the SEC as well, because the SEC would retain the regulation by enforcement posture. Interesting. So a little summary of what just happened. Again, remember the SEC tried to basically stall things, and also the SEC right now is basically trying to get back on this reconsideration, even though, again, the stalling has to do with the fact they said we don't want to basically apply for a response to the judge's decision just quite yet. We don't want to appeal yet. We want to wait for that, and we might actually figure out the entire lawsuit basically, or at least the next decision, before we actually come back on this, which is kind of scary because Ripple's also kind of thinking like, okay, we might want to do that. The reason I'm saying that's scary is mostly because I would say within the SEC's emails of Hinman is where all the juicy stuff is lying. And again, like the previous guy just said, at the end of the day, we don't really know what the SEC's proposed rules are, were, or internally kind of have been. And through those emails, we can partially get to some conclusion. Because as of this point, all they're doing is regulation by enforcement, which basically means they don't make rules through the traditional rulemaking process. No, they do it through lawsuits. If it turns out, though, that in those emails there were some hints for some new framework, for example, related to XRP, obviously, because otherwise we wouldn't see them. Well, now we're not going to see them for a long time, which is kind of strange to me. So this article right here is called Revealed, How Much ETH is Owned by the Ethereum Foundation. Another interesting revelation relates to how the Ethereum Foundation currently has $300 million in non-crypto investments and assets. It apparently only holds about 0.3% of all ETH currently in circulation, and the crypto hold was worth $1.29 billion as of a little bit ago, and represents 99.1% of the organization's investments in digital assets. It's just something that you, I guess, should know about, the fact that almost every single crypto has a foundation or something of that nature behind it. The amount of tokens that they hold, it does not by definition matter because it depends on what they do with that, what the plans were, if it's a poor or non-profit, and even that is not as easy as it seems. Why? Well, because for Cardano, for example, you have a couple of different entities. I believe you have Emergo, Cardano Foundation, and IOG, for example. With Ripple, it also has a couple of different parts, and with Ethereum, it's kind of the same way. With most cryptos, that's the reason, though, or that's the thing. And what I mean to say with that is, almost in every one of these scenarios, you can bring up an argument that the company behind this crypto at one point or another sold their asset to another party with the expectation of profits, basically. It's the reason I kind of brought up our initial point of Ripple and the SEC can both kind of win. It's not as nice to cover it, but it is what it is. Then again, that's the story specifically for Ethereum as well. If we look back and say, hey, was Ether a security back in time from, for example, a foundation? Yes, it was, right? Because it was literally sold as an investment sale, basically. It was literally done as a security. We all know it. Nobody's denying that. The question, however, is, did it decentralize basically from that point on forward? And that's again also the kind of the argument I'd like to bring up here. Why, even though Ethereum, right, we can all conclude that it was a security at one point or another. Why, just because it's now fine, aren't they getting sued for the past? Why isn't the SEC coming up and saying, hey, in 2015, you were for a little bit of security. We are wanting to get $1 billion in damages. Is it partially because the price went up only and XRP price went down? Is it because they've fled the US? Again, guys, I am not against Ethereum. I'm against this partiality, maybe, or the fact that different cryptos are getting different rules. And this is, at the end of the day, why we want those Hinman emails so bad and why we want to look a little bit further into all of this. Purely because it doesn't make a lot of sense for the rules to be so shady or for us to not be able to figure out exactly how it all works. Having said that, I'm a very big fan of XRP. I think you guys know that by now, but I actually am not really, as of this point, only focused on the utility. I've shown a dozen, now I'm going to say almost five, let's say a couple hundred videos just on XRP's utility. I've done that most likely throughout these years. The thing is, though, guys, you gotta realize per section, and per time frame, what the most important updates for any crypto are going to be. And right now, I think you guys will all agree with me that utility is not the biggest factor behind the price. It really is all about the lawsuits. I described to you guys before in 3 brackets. Lawsuit first, relisting second, utility third. From that perspective, we have the Michael Jordan NFT collection that might, from the utility perspective, might be a little bit more exciting, sure. But from any other perspective, this lawsuit far outweighs any other party. As a caveat, I would have expected, if the major investors were kind of scared, that a lot of these bigger investors should have or would have actually pulled out a long time ago. That's one thing. But also the fact that a lot of really key figures have joined Ripple's board in this time frame. I've been thinking as well, it's very hard for example, Rosa Rios to join a company that she thinks is a sinking ship, even though it might be for millions of dollars, for example. The harm to that specific name, I'm not sure that's worth it for any person, specifically if she's known to know this much about currencies. I think she'd be able to figure out exactly, she probably has advisors, right, who tell her, don't join this because it's going to hurt your credibility. But you can't join a company that is being sued right now that you think is going to lose. You obviously have to go in thinking it's going to win. And if it does end up losing, you already kind of know from the back of your head then that it will actually survive and still be something good for your name. I'm just thinking. Before we move on, little side note, guys. You already know that I always buy every single project that lists over on Bybit. Whenever it lists on the Launchpad, I always buy into them. This case here, I've checked out Apex a little bit, and the only negative side about it is that the amount of money that they're raising is ridiculously high. So I'm thinking the multiplier that we're going to get is going to be a little bit lower, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to be getting into it purely because I think it's worth it. Let me just say it like that. I still think it's worth it, even though it's not a 100x type of crypto like I usually like to see them. Let's put it like that. So how you join it is get yourself an account over on Bybit. And a little fun fact, guys, if you're not really wanting to join this thing, there's still a couple of strategies to make a lot of money with this. And again, look me into my eyes and think about this, right? What I've done a dozen times before, guys. I've done this a dozen times before. Is you buy a specific, think about this, please thank me for these updates. It's so smart. This works 9 out of 10 times, let's say. I think it works a lot more often than that, but you guys get the ordeal. You buy a exchange token like the BIT, like the BNB, whatever, pick it. The lower the cap, the better. You buy this the moment that a new project on the Launchpad or whatever is announced. Works for any exchange token, I think. Again, not financial advice, my secret, sneaky, multi-billion-dollar plan, all right? You buy that the moment it gets announced, and you sell it the day before it launches, or 2 days before it launches, let's say something like that. Within this time frame, there's a very high probability that the price is up at least 5% or so. And usually the day before, people start selling it again, or the day itself, because a lot of people are playing the exact game that I just told you guys about. So once more, just join freaking Bybit, figure it out, whatever I've just told you, that might be something to do, or just join and always buy these things, because at the end of the day, usually it makes money. Usually it does. So I always like to kind of I guess just try it out, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but at least you tried, because usually it does work, so it's worth the risk. Then, little just fun thing. Positive XRP article on Yahoo Finance today. Just good, right? Ripple Labs news. Updates deliver XRP support and look at 80 cents. I think the interesting part is that it's just positive instead of negative like usually on Yahoo, I think. I have to make another little remark. XRP The Standard Productions is a goated account for sure, but it's satire. Understand this. Breaking exclusive news. Gensler makes settlement offer to Ripple. It's not real, right? It's a joke. Too many people think it is actually real, and you wouldn't know how many people come up to me and ask the question of what is the source or how does this work? Have you heard about this? And from some people, you know that they're joking, right? You understand, like, haha, yes. But with some people, I really am not 1,000% sure that they're joking because of the way they structure their message. And so I'm just going to put it out there once more. It's not real, all right? It's just a joke made to be fun. Then, guys, billionaire Chamath Palihapitiya says Solana, part of massive disruption of global payments industry. Funny enough, Bitcoin in this article here is superior to all other payment networks, says the Strike CEO. Just want you guys to know that if you're going to ever have a discussion about which crypto is going to have this most disruptive effect, just know that nobody knows for sure. It could be XRP, it could be Solana, it could be even Terra with the UST. It could be Bitcoin, I don't know. I'm not going to say that one is better than the other. Every single one of these cryptos has their own good parts, And that is why I hold a bigger basket of these cryptos, because I believe in the story of a lot of these ones, and I'm just not sure which one is going to get the best adoption or for what purpose and whatnot. But the story that I told you guys yesterday was about the Decred hard fork, I believe. Privacy-focused Monero plans hard fork in July. What did I tell you guys yesterday? Whenever a hard fork like this is announced, what we do is buy the rumors, sell the news. In the same sense that whenever we do on these Launchpads, we can do two things. One, use our BIT to subscribe to get free tokens, basically. Not free, but you buy them, but for a very cheap price. Or, once more, we buy the rumor of a new token launching and sell the news, which is the actual launch. The same thing happens for hard forks. Usually you buy the moment it gets announced because the price pumps. Happens very freaking often. Hard fork would see version 15 of Monero launched with several upgrades for improved security. But yeah, that is it's just a juicy little update. Guys, that was it for today's video though. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe. And I will definitely see you guys again in another crypto video later today.